All right, sorry, you guys. Sorry, I apologize for the delay. This is Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Once again, I am so sorry for the delay. We are running behind schedule. I have the brother College Genesis on with us this afternoon, this evening, and we're about to rise up. And tonight's topic is worthless black leadership finally being exposed by Donald Trump? You know what's crazy, Kala?
What's that?
So the whole Central Park Five thing, right?
Right.
So I guess Donald Trump put out an ad, saying that
Right. I,
the
I remember that.
you remember that?
I remember that at the time. See, the whole thing is there was two things going on in New York, right? One was New York was swarming in crime. It was a mafia. It was Giuliani. He was talking about crime. Everything was crime. It was a mafia. It was crime was coming from every segment of the community of the city. It was coming from the Italian neighborhoods, the Irish, the Westies, the West Side. It was coming from the parts of Brooklyn, the Bronx, all that. The whole city was crime. There was squeegee men, everything like that. So the whole city was fed up with crime, right? But you had these people, right, to try to narrow it down to make it about crime and race,
Right.
race and crime. That's what happened. And I think, as I recall, Donald Trump put the ad out talking about crime. And I don't think he doesn't specifically mention black people, but
But
the
Kyle,
whole thing is,
I think so. Why wasn't so? Then after he put the ad out, your boy
yeah,
Al Sharpton, your
yeah,
boy Messy Jesse
yeah,
Jackson,
right.
all the rappers, they were all hanging out with him, you know,
Yeah. But
kicking it
see, the whole thing was, like I said, it was not at the time. Nobody could accuse Donald Trump. They thought he was an asshole for putting out the ad, but nobody thought he was a racist because he was always show up at rap events and stuff like. Nobody ever thought he was the race. The racist was the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the media. All three networks, right, were under. They were attacking black people. The media was attacking black people left and right. Saying blaming black people for crime, blaming went into Harlem and saying also taking the racist side and racial incidents against the police. Suddenly, you had these white liberals, and these are all white liberals, right? Were basically were so friggin' racist against black people. It was about black. Then the whole thing was, well, these people came up from the South, and then I remember there was an article that came out, an op-ed called "The Racism, the Melting Pot Boiling Over." And the gist of the article was, this is very, very important to listen to. Very, and it remains true today. They said they polled a lot of white people in places like Brooklyn, and they said they don't have a problem with much as Puerto Ricans, Colombians, and immigrants. Their problem is black people who are still bitter about slavery, who come from the South. They went so far as to say it's not even so much as the black people from the islands. It's these black people that come from the South. They're angry. They don't like America. They're bitter about slavery. They won't just get over it and stuff like that. So the attempt to isolate Black America in New York, right? But Black people, African Americans are the largest ethnic group in New York. People don't know that. We're the largest ethnic group. That means every other ethnic group, you have Italians, Jews, Irish, Germans, everything. Descendant of slaves, African Americans are the largest ethnic group in New York. But we're the most powerless group of people in New York. Why? Because the police department, the fire department, the media, and everything. You have these people. Let me. This is going to segue into what we're talking about with these big cities like Baltimore.
Yeah,
Same
but
thing that goes on in
what's
New York.
crazy. You know what's crazy though, Colin. You brought up there how they were all liberals. Now, the lady that prosecuted the Central Park Five, she was a huge
Yeah,
Obama and Clinton donor.
of course, of
Fair-
course. See, it doesn't matter.
Linda Fairstein.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They call themselves liberals, but the whole thing is, when it comes to black people, they still have this primal fear of black people. Why? Is because of slavery. They feel what most white liberals feel that they have their due coming to them, and black people are gonna one day pay them back for slavery. That's in the mind of particularly. I know the white person in New York. I don't know white people in other parts of the country, but I know that's the thinking of most white people in New York. That these people, we did all this dirt to them and everything. One day they're gonna rise up and take, and go at it. That's why they fear people like back in the day. They fear people like Alton Maddox. They fear people like Sonny Carson. They fear people like Minister Farrakhan and all these other people that were radical, outspoken people. Charles Barrett, that guy Barrett, and all these other people that basically they can't stand in New York City that feeds it back and forth. And the whole issue is, if you look at New York and whatnot, it was always a war between white so-called liberals and black people in New York. It was never. It was always black people versus the so-called liberal Jews and everything. Why? Because when it came to power in New York, right, they simply didn't want to recognize black people. They didn't even want to recognize Harlem as a black stronghold. Black people thought they were safe in Harlem, and then they started beginning to bring in white businesses and everything. You had the Freddie Fast Mart incident in New York City, where an activist was gunned down and everything like that. There was a white.
who was gunned down?
Okay, it's called the Freddie Fast. Al Sharpton was in the middle of it, right? And he said we got to get these Jewish interlopers out of Harlem. That was happened back in, I believe it was '92. It was right. And what happened was a riot broke out, and one of the guys that were in the middle of it was a black nationalist, and he was from Florida, and he talked about repatriation. He was a Garvey. He talked about repatriation of black people to Liberia and stuff like that. But he was a vendor, and he went into this place owned by Jews. I think it was called Freddie's Fashion Mart, and he was shot. I think.
You said I missed you. Owned by Jews, and what did you say after that?
Okay, okay. You remember the guy I told you about, Daddy Grace, the preacher, Daddy Grace. Daddy Grace, big time preacher back.
Was he on the same level as like Follow the Vine and all them?
Follow that same thing, same thing. Two of a kind. Well, he had a building, an old church, right, that had a storefront, and a lot of Jewish merchants were renting space, and his family still owned it, but they rented out a lot of property to people, and these people put in clothing stores and record stores and everything like that in these storefronts. And Al Sharpton and all them were saying these people are interlopers, and there was a movement to move to get Jews out of Harlem. And at the time, Rudy Giuliani comes down there, and he went shopping in Harlem, said Harlem's open for business. It doesn't belong to black people and everything. And he sent the NYPD to take all the vendors, black vendors who were making money on the street peddling, and move them off the main street, the main 126th Street, Lenox, and all that. Now, the issue, so that war has been going on in so-called liberal New York for a long time. It had nothing to do with right wing, left wing, because there's no Republicans. So if it's a Republican Democrat thing, why is this happening in so-called liberal cities? Look at Los Angeles, liberal city. Look at San Francisco. The number of police shootings and the racism in San Francisco. I thought San Francisco was a liberal haven. I thought liberal means
I mean, well, I would say this: it's a liberal haven, but I mean, how is that a win for black people? That's why I don't understand. Havens a win for black people.
That's what leads us to the topic of tonight. In 2019, we're still on this. If a person has a D or a liberal behind his name, we must vote for them at all costs. Despite the fact that and I'm not they're telling you to vote for a Republican. I think we should have our own political party, to tell you the truth, right? But I think the people that are not even worse than the white liberals are these black so-called leaders who are lackeys who benefit from the status quo, right? In other words, as long as there's black people that's poor, downtrodden, as long as there's police brutality, there's always going to be an Al Sharpton. There's always going to be all these people talking about, oh yeah, we need to do this, we do it, and then what they do is instead of black people having a real agenda to vote on, right? We're gonna get this, we're gonna get that, and everything. The only thing we vote on is who's gonna be less racist towards us.
All right.
Now, we were told that if we cast down our buckets, right, and believe in America, in a generation or two, this will all be solved. Why is it 2019?
It's actually gotten worse.
Right. But you can't tell these Negroes that because they think everything is fine. It's getting worse. I have never seen more police shootings in my life. Crime is out of control. Poverty is out of control. I look at some of those pictures of Skid Row. I look at some of those pictures all around the country. And I'm saying to myself, black people are falling out. The bottom line is this: black neighborhoods that used to be black, right, are now turning white. Why? Because the real estate's cheap. You can buy property in places like Detroit and everything for $100, right? All you have to do is basically seal off get 4 or 5 white families to move on the perimeter of the property, right? that gives people the idea that the speculators that, whoa, this is a good place to go into. Why? Because if the trend continues, we'll have a 90% white community. And in no time at all, in 10 years span of time, we can bet that we can have this neighborhood all white. So they'll pump in millions and millions of dollars into the area, and they'll get gentrified. But the thing is, though, it's under a so-called urban revitalization, right?
Right,
But
right,
who's
right.
getting revitalized?
You know what the urban revitalization is? What they'll do, they'll do a mural of like Martin Luther King marching,
Yeah,
up and down, marching in Selma. They'll put a little mural up, but the neighborhood is completely gentrified.
completely gentrified. And the whole thing is, we're supposed to be like, okay, well, this is Martin Luther King's dream. I don't think Martin Luther King meant that black people should be driven out of their neighborhoods and live in absolute poverty, or white people move in because they want to save thousands. Now, white people can't afford the neighborhoods in white communities anymore, right? So what they do is they go into black neighborhoods, right? And they white it up and everything. Like, let me get every black neighborhood, even the successful black neighborhoods, are under assault with gentrification. Sag Harbor and Long Island, right? It's the Black Hamptons, right? For generations, right? Waterfront property, beautiful neighborhoods and everything in Long Island, right? Oprah Winfrey did a special on Sag Harbor on her own channel. Go look it up. Beautiful property. Now you got 25% white ownership. And they asked the white people, why are you moving here, right? They said, well, we found a property that's on the beach for free, but this is a traditional black neighborhood. Why are you moving in here? Well, we couldn't afford the ones in the Hamptons and everything. And they asked the black people, they're like, look, this is an upper class black neighborhood. We got executives and everything. We like living our own thing. Then they said, well, the black people are being racist for keeping them out. So the whole thing is that, see, when you have something, right? That's the whole thing about when you're dealing with white people in New York and liberals and everything. They're liberal until you have power. When you have something of value that exclusively yours, they're gonna find a way how to integrate it and take it over. That's what's happening.
Guys, real quick, let's
And
hit that like button. We have hold on, caller. Let's hit that like button. We have 202 people watching and 66 likes. Guys, stop being so damn stingy with the like button. Goodness, you're not super chatting. Hit the like button. Or if you don't hit the like button, Kyle's gonna sing the song. All right, he's gonna sing the song.
Don't want to sing that song, bro. Y'all don't want me to sing that song. So anyway, it segued into tonight's show, right? I think the so-called black leadership, right? They don't have any. When you talk about black leadership, I think the brother that does the Vice show, the Dapper channel, O'Shea,
Phil,
and all these other people like that are more leaders and more influencers than these so-called black leaders. Look at Roland Martin now. A public figure. He can't even get 200 likes, 200 views on a Facebook post. And Al Sharpton, his Facebook profile is horrible. Nobody comments. Now he's a public figure. So what does it tell you? It tells you that these people are imposed upon us. They always have, it always will be. They have traditionally picked who is a so-called black leader, right? Malcolm X said that when he called them the Big Six, the leaders of the so-called March on Washington. Does anybody know why Malcolm X called the March on Washington the farce on Washington? Why they call that? Did you ever hear this story, Dinus?
I didn't. Go ahead.
Okay, let me tell you a story of the March on Washington, 1963. That basically you cannot tell anybody that was a watershed moment in Black history and American history. That's the moment America decided to change. We had a March on Washington and everything. The March on Washington was a farce. Why? Because people don't seem to understand. The March on Washington, the idea of marching on Washington started like in the 1940s. They said, black people said, we need to march on Washington, right? So it was something that was building for 20 years, right? It was leaderless, right? It was leaderless. It was just said, we're going to go to Washington. We're going to sit in the Senate halls. We're going to sit in airports. We're going to just shut the city down until we get some concrete civil rights and equal rights protections and everything. So when the March on Washington decided they were going to do it, right, the grassroots people said, we're going to disorderly just come like that. They're just going to come there, right? The whole world was watching, right? This is the height of the Cold War. America's trying to sell itself to the rest of the world, right? People don't seem to understand the civil rights movement was going to happen whether Martin Luther King was there or not, because America had to sell itself, its way of life, and its creed to the rest of the world. How can you sell yourself to the rest of the world as a land of freedom when you got these people suffering at brutality and racism in America? So therefore, the problem that started in America was They signed a Declaration of Independence that said all men are created equal. At the same time, they were slaveholders, right? That's the hypocrisy of America. So it was playing out itself out again with the March on Washington. Why do you need a March on Washington when black people so-called got integration and civil rights and everything, or we had the Brown versus Board of Education thing, and most black people said, "Look, that didn't do it. That didn't do enough. We want access to this. We want jobs. We want affirmative action. We want all stuff like that." All those things were put on the table, but they were gradually diluted, right? How they diluted, same way they diluted the March on Washington, right? The March on Washington said, they said, okay, we got all these Negroes coming to Washington, D.C. They're going to be doing here, there could be potential for violence. And America could be embarrassed on the international stage. Soviet Union will use this as propaganda against America, right? So we got to take control of the March on Washington. What they do, they pick 6 Negro leaders. It was James Farmer, Roy Wilkins, Whitney Irving Young, Martin Luther King, and a couple other people. And they said, you guys, and they gave them media coverage, right? They gave them money, right? They gave them press conferences and everything. So in the public side and the black side, these are the so-called leaders. You know, they weren't chosen by the people, right? Because nobody said there were no leaders, right? That's what happened. That's the dangers of having a leaderless movement. But people go out there and do their own thing and everything. You can't control it. So they can't a leader. They say, okay, we're gonna start organize this, right? Okay, this day we're gonna come over here. This day we're gonna invite the gays out to speak. This day we'll invite the labor unions out to speak. They invited whites in, you know, and they did all this stuff. And not only that, when you look at the images of this thing, what do you see? People holding signs saying we want more jobs. Those signs were paid for and handed out to the crowd, right? Why? So when the pictures come out, right, it wasn't the pictures saying we're gonna burn this mother down, like as they would say, right? It was pictures saying that we want equal jobs, equal housing. So they could say, okay, see, all they want is demand is equal housing and jobs and everything. That's not what they wanted. They put those signs out there to basically have a photo op to say this is what it's all about. But it wasn't really about that. It was something more than just housing and jobs and everything. You know, so therefore the media crafted this whole farce, March on Washington. Black people came out there to march for jobs. The proof of which is the march was supposed to last for 2 more days. Most of the black people had went home. They knew they were being conned again. John Lewis was up there. He made it see how long are we gonna stop? We're gonna wait for our Martin Luther King, little black boys and little black girls gonna hold hands and everything, right? And then what happened a year later, a whole year later, right? 1964 was a revolutionary year. That's when things changed, you know? That's when really Malcolm X emerged on the scene, you know, after the Kennedy assassination in 63, in late 63, the early 64, there was several riots in Harlem, Detroit, and all these other places like that, right? And that was the Freedom Summer thing where the white, this is very, very important. White liberals went down to Mississippi in Freedom Summer in 1964. And that's when those 3 civil rights workers were killed.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
But the thing is, get this. The white kids that went down there, right? After that happened, right? After people don't know this, when they were searching for civil rights, they pulled up like 20 or 30 more bodies in Mississippi, right? That were killed by the
I didn't know that part. They pulled up 20 or 30
that was buried out of history. They found like 30 more bodies, you know? And then when the actions of the FBI, the hostility towards the freedom marchers, those white kids came back and their whole view of America changed. They said, this is not the country we thought we lived in. You know, and that's what kicked off the hippie movement and the drug culture. They became anti-establishment and everything like that. I understand that. The white people became anti-establishment and the hippie movement and the anti-war movement grew out of that, you know? Why? Because people were disillusioned with America. America almost went through a civil war in the 60s, you know? And the whole thing, what came out of the civil thing was black people became aligned with the left, right? They were our allies, right? It was about anti-establishment, anti-this, almost like anti-American altogether, right? The whole idea of America and everything like that. So we hitched our ride with the Democrats and the left wing in America, right? And it's been like that ever since. In the same year, Goldwater was running for president, right? He came out and said that first thing he's going to do is cut welfare and everything, and he's going to end civil rights and like that. Black people came out record number to defeat Goldwater in the thing. That's what black people come out to vote. We don't vote for anybody. We vote against people, right? If a president wants to win, all he has to do is really convince black people that he's not against them. You
No,
know?
and how did I mean, he shows up to the soul food restaurant, serves
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah, yeah.
collard greens, and
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
hey,
the
here's my favorite one now. So Bernie Sanders has
Cardi
Cardi.
B. Yeah, like I said, man, this would be sad if it wasn't so true. You know, he has Cardi B, a hood rat rapper from the Bronx. Come on, Trump started police brutality. Now, this what gets me. They try to make you when you try to compensate like you're defending Trump. No, the police brutality was going on long before Trump anything. And then during the police brutality, I don't think President Obama, who I like and everything, took this thing too seriously. Why? Because if he basically took police brutality too hard, right? He knew he would have lost. They would have lost even bigger for Hillary. See, it's all about basically the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment getting reelected, right? They'll give you certain issues to vote on and everything, but it's all about power. The Democratic Party is a powerhouse. You know, the Republican Party is a powerhouse, right? It's all about power, right? They cater to their base to get you out to the polls, you know. But their main agenda is tax cuts. Some of the Democrats want to do this with Medicare. Some Republicans want to do this. That's what they really. Some of them want this, the Trans-Pacific Agreement, like Hillary Clinton wanted. You know what I'm saying? Trump wanted a trade war with China. You know, so the main policy what's going to get built and everything is what's I think what the average voter votes on for the most part is his bread and butter issue. Now, mind you, Black America has not had a bread and butter issue to vote on since I think when the stimulus package came out, right? I see all these Trump voters out here.
Packages. Are you talking about the stimulus package with George Bush?
Obama. No. The first one was covered for the banks, so $700 billion. Second one was that plus money to the states for shovel-ready jobs and everything, right? I've seen the money being spent, right, and then the cash for clunkers. Remember that?
Who?
The cash for clunkers. Remember you trade in your old car, right? Buy a new car, and they give you like a couple $1,000s off, right?
Oh, I didn't know
you
that.
trade in your old car,
I didn't know that. But
that saved GM. GM had a loan, and that saved GM. That was a good move by Obama. But the thing is, the people who benefited from that were
the white.
the
white corporation.
You know? Check this out. This guy, Chuck Riddell, he owns a Ford dealership called a Chevy dealership called RK Chevrolet, right?
Right.
He makes a fortune. He pockets like $5 million in profit off the cash for clunkers, right? But guess what? He runs for Congress against the stimulus package, right? And wins a congressional seat. After he just benefited handsomely, he runs and wins. Because the media was telling you, oh, Obama's spending. The people that were benefiting from this, these white construction companies, these white logistics companies, everything were benefiting from this, but they basically did. Now, the whole time, there was, at the time, I was an Obama defender, right? I defended Barack Obama. I said, give him the man a chance. When I first got on social media, do you know how many people rose to prominence? People like Umar Johnson, everything, because they were attacking Obama. They're like, oh, he's this, that, the other thing. I'm like, yo, why are you attacking Obama? You know, why aren't you attacking the Republicans for blocking his stuff? They were like, no, it's Obama this, he didn't do this. You know, he don't have the power. He don't have. He did the first 2 years.
This is where I disagree. Now, you look at how gangster Donald Trump is. Like, why couldn't Obama move in that same manner?
Because, like I said, because he is black and he should have never ran for president in the first place.
But this, Kyle, this is the thing. So Barack Obama, right?
Yeah.
Gets on national TV. TV. Renounces Louis Farrakhan. Renounces Jeremiah Wright.
Right.
Endorses, a liberal racist in Ron Emanuel.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the whole thing. We've always been doing that for a long time. Remember when Bill Clinton was running, right? he basically one of his greatest photo ops was him and Al Gore standing signing this crime bill thing, right? And he did a picture with a bunch of black inmates in the background, and actually that was when he was governor. Actually, when he was governor,
Mhm.
and he said he's gonna get tough. He's gonna be tough on crime, and so he basically threw black people on the bus by having a picture of him signing this thing, and he showed a whole bunch of black people and inmates in jumpsuits and everything. And so white people said, okay, I could deal with them, right? Then he told Sister Soldier off, no, Sister Soldier, blah 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 blah. And then basically when he gets elected, right, he says that the policies that are in place in Iraq, right, are American policies. They're not George Bush policies. They're American policies. So in other words, basically he's saying, okay, the white power structure is secure and everything. I'm just going to do this now. Bill Clinton is. I don't think Bill Clinton was much of a liberal, other than just an opportunist. I don't see where people say Bill Clinton was the first black president and all stuff like that. There's not anything that he's done legislatively that has helped black people, right? Because right before that, the last time black people had an agenda, even on the Democratic Party, was 1988. 1988, we had people like Maynard Jackson around. We had all these people out there, and they went to
the last black politicians we really had, Maynard Jackson and your boy in DC, Marion Barry.
Yeah, Marion Barry. But you saw what they did to Marion Barry, right? They got rid of him. That was around the same time, 89, 90. That was around the same time they got him out of there. So the bottom line is, anytime you have black politicians that do something for black people and everything, and then that guy, what's the he the mayor the mayor of Chicago that got elected in '87. I forgot his name. But anyway, he first thing he did was he paved all the black streets, gave contracts, everything like that. Tell me how he died within a few months of his taking office. And also he just died. He just died. He's passed away. Oh yeah, mayor. I forgot his name. Harold. Harold. I think his name was Harold Washington.
Yeah, somebody said in the chat room, Harold Washington.
Harold Washington. Yeah, Harold Washington.
Hold on one second, Kyle. Hold on one second. Guys, let's get these likes up. We have 260 people watching, 129 likes. And then, Kyle, we need to really go in on why are people like John Lewis, Elijah Cummings so emotional and angry and ready to rise up for everyone but black people?
That's what it is. You got to understand something. Who's paying? Who's supporting them? The Democratic Party have an agenda, right? Their agenda is to bring all these illegal aliens in here, right, and to replace black people. That's what it is. That's all it is. And when they don't understand, when they achieve that objective of bringing legal life, they openly call it. You look at the debate last night. They're openly calling for the decriminalizing of crossing the border.
I didn't.
No document. Millions swarming.
Are you serious?
I watched clips of it. And I said, you talk about decriminalizing the illegally entry into the United States, right? Why? Because your ultimate goal is to replace black people. Not just replace black people, but replace, sort of like assimilate Hispanic. See, you gotta say something when you talk about the Democratic Party. They rely on people who they never deliver, what they say they're gonna deliver, but they convince you that you need these so-called social programs that they're never going to give, that they're never going to actually materialize. Every time you have a so-called stimulus package, everything like that, the people who don't benefit from it are the people whose price tag is on. When you think of affirmative action, who do you think of? African Americans, right? But who benefits from affirmative action mostly? Not us.
But the people who benefited the most are white women.
Right. But when you think of affirmative action, who bears the cost? Who bears the brunt of that? Black people.
Yeah.
Okay. So no matter what, we get stuck with the bill. Affirmative action is hurting the white male population. But talk to the white females who benefit from it. Talk to the Asians and everybody else who take advantage of these opportunities and everything. Black people in America are in a position. When you say make a vague, abstract term like minorities or diversity and everything, you're talking about anybody but white males. Now, the black community has gotten worse. Why? Because if you go to places like Baltimore, right? Oh yeah, there's a lot of diversity going on, right? But guess what? Guess who's also included in that diversity? Jews. You know, Jews are legally cast as a minority group that can take advantage of minority loans, set aside, even though they're white.
All right.
White women, Jews, everybody. I bet you black people don't even know that.
All right, listen.
White Hispanics, you know.
There's another one. White gay men. I think are considered
Now you have the LGBTQ is now a legitimate political affiliation. The LGBTQ now can sue for affirmative action, special rights, and everything as a minority group. They now they call themselves LGBTQ nation. They because of social media, you're able to create your own artificial group. But yet the same people want to delegitimize Black America. We stand up for ourselves and everything. We're being uncooperative. We're being racist. We're being separatists. We're being all this stuff like that. But we're the only group of people, the African American slave descendants, who have a legitimate reason to be together. Why? Because we are the least assimilated into the American mainstream, right? There's reasons why we can't get into the American mainstream. The biggest impediment is the legacy of slavery. You know, no black person, no sane black person can look up and say, except for Candace Owens, can say, I forgive America, I do this, that, the other thing. If you do, okay, that's fine. You move on with your life and everything like that. But when it talks about the black collective in America, right? The black collective in America, you cannot ignore the legacy of slavery. Why? Because you go to these cities, you see the evidence of it. You know, I was in, what was I at today? I was in Portsmouth, Virginia today. Every time I look around, bro, I see the evidence. You can't tell me the part. I say, well, they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Pull themselves for what? There's nothing there, but nothing but misery and poverty. Yes, lots of people escape and everything, but overwhelmingly, there's not enough for the black community because the white community has to come first. You see white guys, young white guys out there in their early 20s and in early 30s with a home, white, nice car, house, everything like that, and everything. Just 1-2 years out of college and everything. But black people that study the show, we get successful much later in life. We're like in our 40s and 50s before we start seeing that, you know? And so therefore, like I said, they have an unfair advantage. Why? Because in order for you to really make it in America, you have to integrate. You have to be with the mainstream. You have to have white associations and all these other things like that. You know what I'm saying? You get this idea that, okay, we're going to build our, it has not happened yet. You know, it has not happened yet. Now, what could happen if we had real leadership, right? If we had real leadership, right? And we basically didn't back down in the late 80s and sell out for Bill Clinton. If we would have said, told the Democrats, this is another thing. Had we basically stayed home in the 90s and everything right here and let the Republicans win and let the Democrats fight back,
we would be much further ahead right now.
Of course. But we let these people that are hell-bent on keeping Democrats in power at all costs without doing anything for the black community and everything. We do that because why? Because if you do anything for black folks, they fear they're going to lose the white vote. So you're in a catch-22, black America. If the Democrats come out and say, we're going to give you reparations, we'll give you this, right? They're going to lose like 30% of the whatever white vote there is left. And they cannot win without they cannot win in the presidency or election without at least 35% of the white vote. You know, and they have to have all the Hispanics vote, and usually Asians are going over to the Republican side. Half of Hispanics go over to the Republican side, and about 20% of Black America is going over to the Republican side. So what does the Democrat have left? They have the only thing they can muster right now is a huge black turnout. You know, in key states, they have to have a 99% black turnout, right? In some of these battleground states, they have to have that. And right now, these battleground states are not looking too good. Why? Because black people are looking up and saying, wait a minute here. We went to bat for Obama twice. Remember that?
Right.
You know, nothing came out of it. He couldn't even send Loretta Lynch to prosecute the kill of Eric Garner. He couldn't look second into Trayvon Martin case. What's all that? The Office of Civil Rights and everything got weakened under Obama. You know, and it was all about basically saying, "Oh, we'll sacrifice Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, and Mike Brown for the greater good, which was Hillary Clinton winning." You know, and preserving his legacy. Remember, Obama got there. This community shouldn't let me down and damage my legacy. I look at this nigga like your legacy. You know what I'm saying? You think we give a goddamn about your damn legacy, Mister LGBTQ crusader? You know your legacy. Are you crazy? And that's when black people in the Clintons during the last election just said, you know something, we just stayed home. You know, a lot of black people stayed home, voted for a party, and that's how Trump won. Now the whole thing is now they're beating up on black people for doing what you're supposed to do. If a candidate doesn't appeal to you, if a candidate lets you down, you don't vote for him. But we have this thing. What's the word you call Dynasty? You coined VOTEP?
Oh, vote tabs. Yeah, the vote tabs. Oh, you got to yeah. Right now, the vote tabs. The strategy is, well, Donald Trump is racist, but I mean, here we go. Joe Biden is racist, but he's not racist like Donald Trump. So we got to vote for Joe Biden. That's the vote tab strategy right now.
Yeah, that's it. But you ask him, okay, what's
listen, vote tabs are defending the hell out of Elijah Cummings and John Lewis.
Yeah, of course. Why? Because
the thing is, Colin, when you ask these vote tabs, like, okay, why don't you stay in Baltimore? Why when Atlanta before it was gentrified, you didn't stay in Atlanta? Why don't you send your kids to these Baltimore public schools, these Atlanta city schools? They got every excuse in the book.
No, they don't go in there, you know. And I was looking at that thing where they were going through the back alleys of in the Baltimore, and I was like, look at, I saw rats. Usually rats scurry or don't come out in the daytime; they come out at night. This was broad daylight. These rats were like, yo, what? You know, the rats were like, what? What y'all want? You know what I'm saying? The rats would come. Oh, I mean, I have never seen. I said, yo, trash all over the place and everything, broken down buildings. There was Baltimore was given like $2 billion. I remember this, right?
Right.
And I remember they said they built like a total of 5 homes for people. The thing is, in all fairness, right? We have to define what is the so-called black community. You know what I'm saying? When you have like a good half the population living on Section 8, right? It's just really bad. Then you got another part of Black America that moves out to the suburbs and everything. They let these areas die. You know, these areas die, and it's almost like you can't revitalize them. You have to bring in developers to bring whites in to save the property.
Right.
So,
and Colin, people have this term, the new Atlanta. Man, the new Atlanta is white, corporate owned, black managed.
Yeah, black managed and everything. But the thing is, so long as you got your nice car, right, and you got your weave, and you guys go out there sipping champagnes, and you pretend you're on Atlanta housewives and everything, and you might show up on a radio. Oh, this is hot land and everything. And I'm saying to myself, I've learned a long time ago, right? Anytime you see large numbers of black folks, right, in the area, run the other direction, because the bottom line is there's no big multi-billionaires. When like Obama had this thing where he says, "Oh, we're gonna build remember Solyndra, we're gonna build these solar panel things. We're gonna bring them to the hood, whatever. Like put people to work there." That never worked out, you know. 8 years in office, Obama, he would have worked on that. He could have did something, right? I guess he didn't think of it. But you can't make companies come into a black area and employ people. Southside Chicago. Can you really tell me that a guy who has a couple of $1 million to invest in everything, he's going to basically build a factory around people that he doesn't know, doesn't like, and everything, and go into a high crime area to employ people? That's where you link with black business people, black management professionals, and everything. But the thing is, now we're to the point where black management and black professionals aren't accepted in many of these communities. You know, so what do we do with these communities that they're so dangerous that not even black people want to move there, live there anymore, and everything? Do you declare martial law?
But they will have every excuse for the black misleadership in those communities. They make every excuse for them.
Yeah, because like I said, what you have with these black misleadership is all you have to do is have one police shooting, right? And they'll peel up that, yeah, we gotta stop this and blah 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 blah. And the black people, we act on emotion. You know, we don't really act when it comes to politics. We're an emotional people, right? They can sell us anything. All they do is tug on our heartstrings. Yeah, this, that, and the other thing. And we don't have any sound reason why. Now, let me give you an example. When Trump first took office, right, he asked Elijah Cummings, can you come down here, right? I'll meet with all you guys. You guys, I guess Trump assumed that these guys, I guess Trump must have learned this, right? I think he knew it, right? He said, "You guys come down here, right? Whatever you need, right? I got the money, I got the stroke of the pen, and what you need for your districts and everything, I could do revitalize." Elijah Cummings rejected that, right? And then Trump said, Chuck Schumer got to him, and Nancy Pelosi don't got to him, said, "No, you don't meet with Trump," right? Even though Trump says I can help your district directly, whatever you like that, whatever you need. We want to fix these communities because whatever like that. Whether he's sincere or not, it was their obligation to go there at least hear what he had to say. But they said no, we don't want to do that, right? Right. So evidently, I was thinking, right, that Elijah Cummings represented a district that was well off. I thought he was representing. I didn't even notice so recently that district was his district.
Hey, somebody said in the chat room. Well, first of all, guys, let's hit this like button. We have 282 people watching, 164 likes. Please hit that like button as you come to the chat room. And somebody in the chat room says, believe it or not, ATL is the new Detroit when Detroit was still economically viable.
Does ATL have industries? They got factories. I see everybody into the
only thing ATL has really, like you said, well, the movie industry is here, so it's number 2 in the nation, and then we got the airport.
Yeah, the airport, just like DC.
It's corrupt.
DC got FX Stadium, and they got the airport. They got DC. That whole area right there. They got the in Northern Virginia, got the Arlington base and everything. I don't see anywhere in America where black people control any sort of heavy industry or logistics and everything where you could justify calling something a black mecca. I remember when they had this thing a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still like this today. They had a job fair. This was open my eyes up. This was back in 2011. Remember they had a job fair in Atlanta. And this was sad was these people were friends with all Obamas and everything. They said we're gonna young people if they want a job, whatever like that. And one thing I'll never do is promise people something I can't deliver. So they came down there and said, yeah, you got suit up and everything like that. They had people out there, young people out there. It's sad. It's not funny. Line the line must have been like a mile long. And you had people out there all day, all day looking for a job, right? I think there was like 11 job openings, right? It was like a mile long of people showed up,
This was in Atlanta?
Atlanta. It was in Atlanta, Look up Atlanta job fair, job fair. Lines saying the line was saying, and the guys, all these young people in their 20s, someone had degrees. They said, I got my degree and everything. I'm still looking for a job and everything. They had their little resumes and everything like that. But the people that were running it weren't serious, and that's another thing, you go up there and you talk about, yeah, we're gonna do this and that and everything, but there was no real major companies there. They're just same old that they've been telling black people a long time.
Like I said, Colin. Now they got the airport, which is corrupted. So, see, the thing is, this is the issue I have, and there. In fact, the city of Atlanta is being investigated by the FAA right now.
Yeah, I heard about that.
There should be 2 airports in Atlanta. Let me tell you about the level of corruption here in Atlanta. There should be 2 airports in Atlanta. So right. Houston, you got 2 airports. New York, you got might as well be 3 if you count Newark. You got LaGuardia, you got JFK. Chicago, you got Midway, and I forgot the other O'Hare. Let's see here. DC, you got Reagan, and you got LaGuardia. Atlanta should have 2 airports, but Delta, again, white-owned corporation,
right?
Black leadership. Yeah, they got so much of a stranglehold on the airport here in Atlanta, and they jack up the price, especially international. They jack up the prices, right. So there's no competition, no low-cost international.
And it was Maynard Jackson who built that airport. Maynard Jackson,
the one that built it.
He built that airport, and the bottom line, that airport is what built that whole region. You know what I'm saying? The commerce in there. You know what I'm saying? He invited companies in there. Had they used that as a model, to build more airports and stuff like that, and everything, it would have been better. But like I said, we're living in a world where it's globalized, right? It was not black people's fault that NAFTA was signed. Ross Perot predicted everything that he predicted was going to come to pass. He said NAFTA wasn't going to benefit Mexico. It was going to cause poverty, and everybody laughed at him. Oh, Ross Perot, he's so funny. I voted in '92. I voted for him. I voted for him. I didn't like Clinton. I didn't like Bush, right? I voted for him, right? But what he said was true. He said, and the people that's going to hurt the most out of NAFTA are the black working class. Was he right? But the thing is, but instead of saying, you know something, maybe we made a mistake with Clinton. You know, he signed NAFTA, right? Because he got in bed with the Republicans, right? Because he didn't care, because the bottom line, all he cared was that he was president, and they still didn't like him. The fact that Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall and played the saxophone, the fact that he had black friends, right? The country was so racist that even though that he gave the Republicans everything they wanted, a crime bill, NAFTA, and all this free trade and everything like that, continued China's most favorite nation status and everything, they still hated him. He's still a nigga lover, you know? But that's what you're actually dealing with. And Bill, and the whole thing was, even me at the time was like, well, Bill Clinton's our savior. Why? Because if he goes, you're gonna have these white men like David Duke in power. Then I'm like this as I grow up now, like, why didn't we? That's what I was still like, oh, this is America, this is it, and everything. Then, like around that time period, like around '95, I started studying more into what's called infrastructure, right? I started studying this idea called infrastructure. I said, why do we put up with this stuff in America? Why do we put up with this? Why? Because America has modern infrastructure. And even if we live in the slums in America, it's better than living in mud huts and everything else. We can't do any better. I looked at Haiti, I looked at everything. Then
Yeah.
I started discovering that countries around the world, like in Asia, right? Right at the time, countries like Thailand, Singapore, were becoming industrialized, right? At the same time, South Africa had a black government, even though we could debate that back and forth and everything. And Botswana was up and coming, right? Becoming industrialized. I said, so maybe the thing is that black people need to look beyond America and look ourselves as an independent people on a global scale. You know, maybe these two parties, you know, everything. Maybe we need to look at Pan Africanism and global business and everything, as opposed to waiting for crumbs from the white man, which never comes. Now it's a point where the Democrats have promised, promised, promised. Republicans ignored us. Now Democrats at the point now where they don't even have to promise black people anything.
Right.
They don't haven't promised us anything, right?
Okay, well, call again. How are they still again? John
Fear,
Lewis.
yo,
Uh,
fear,
why
fear.
are they still in office?
It's fear. It's fear. Black people fear. You know what I'm saying? They play on black people fear. They play on the fact that if you get rid of me, all hell's gonna break loose. The white man's gonna come and get you. And so these people stay in power. They don't bother giving you anything. They know you don't have to have anything.
Right.
Just like when Bill Clinton was in power, right? He didn't have to give us anything. All we knew was, and I felt kind of bad about that. And that's why at the time, a lot of black men followed Farrakhan. Like, yo, man, so what? You this, that, the other thing. We had the Million Man March and all stuff like that, black militants in there, but that didn't go anyplace, you know? It was a big bluff and everything, because what produced the Million Man March was we were like, okay, America dissed us, both parties don't care about us and everything, so we're gonna do our black thing and everything. Now they had a million and a half black men coming to DC, but nothing came out of it, right? Because it was all just a bluff, right? The bottom line is we went for Clinton with 8 years of George Bush and everything, and Obama came back on the scene. Obama comes on the scene, and we voted for him twice. Why? Well, we got a black president and everything. 8 years, we got really nothing out of the Obama administration, right? Right? And so black people are done with politics in America for the most part.
Right.
But I think this is their last chance, right? If let's say if Trump loses, right, the Democrats win, what they're gonna do is make sure they never have to worry about the black vote again. They're gonna do that by giving all the illegal aliens in America, right,
Right.
voting rights. Voting rights, so they could tip the election in the Democrat favor. Then they no longer have to worry about this problem called Black America anymore.
Right.
And then everything you see that you think is bad now, you won't even have. They won't even need to have Al Sharpton on MSNBC. They won't need to have Joy Reid no more anymore.
Right.
They will have no need for you anymore. You're completely neutralized. And then it'll be the battle between the assimilated illegal immigrants and the unassimilated, and the Republicans will try to pick them up. Black America will be completely marginalized. There's a reason why we're not a majority in any state, because they have it that way. We don't control any infrastructure in any state to be a majority. We don't have any industrials that can build factories and industries and bring people over to develop new communities and everything. We don't have that capacity in America. 400 years of living in America, and we're the only group of people, as powerful as we are, we don't have any political power in America at all.
None.
Because we live in their space. We live in their dominion, their domain. The black man in America and the black man in diaspora needs his own dominion, his own domain. When you have your own dominion domain, you call the shots. You say what goes. You control the policies. And if somebody violates the policies, you can go to war with that person, no matter who it is. So that's what you have. That's what we have in America. Now, as far as like the topic of the show,
Yeah.
Donald Trump exposed this. Yes, he did. And I think Donald Trump knew that these people, these black politicians like Maxine Waters and everything, they weren't serious.
Right.
Look at Maxine Waters' district, right? And the worst, every one of these, from John Conyers to Elijah Cummings to Maxine Waters, everybody, good congressmen, they represent the worst. Now people say, well, what can they do? I remember when Newt Gingrich.
Let me ask you this is the problem I have, Colin. Like, for some reason, whenever it comes to our worthless black leadership, it's they give them so many excuses on why they just can't do nothing. But
because
it's just a definite. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's that. But with black leadership, there's so many excuses on why you have Baltimore what it is today.
Because the whole thing is, like I said, we've always been this thing where we listen to preachers, we listen to pastors, we listen to community activists and everything. And remember something: when you have if you're a community activist and you got a 501c3, right?
All right.
And you got a social media presence and you're showing up for this and this is another thing we got to get out of in Black America, right? Just because somebody's loud, don't mean they're right. People get loud. Black people know how to get loud.
You need to repeat that again, Colin. Just because you're loud.
Okay. Just because somebody is loud and boisterous and grandstanding, don't mean they're right. Stop being intimidated by loud talking Black people who just basically browbeat you.
Here we go. I'm gonna name some for you. You got Angela Rye, Simone Sanders,
of course,
your boy D. Ray, who completely disappeared. He took his Black Lives Matter money and dipped.
Of course, I said that.
Sean King. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, all these people that are loud, they're boisterous and everything. They're boisterous, and the whole thing is they don't know how to do anything but talk about police brutality. They play on your emotions. They know they anger, but the whole thing is this: that there's no reason not to have a political. First of all, before you can have political power, you got to have a social cohesion. You cannot have a social cohesion just by social media. You can a little bit, right? But in your communities and everything, your socialization is your family, your culture, your neighbors, and everybody around you and everything. You see problems and everything, and you say, you talk about problems, and you say, okay, how can we solve this? How can we move this forward? Then it's economics, right? Let's be honest with ourselves, right? Black people in America, just like a lot of Americans, are very, very individualistic when it comes to economics. And every time I meet with somebody and everything like that, this is very funny. When I start telling them, yeah, man, I'm for this and everything like that, the first thing they're looking at you like, nigga, how much you want?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I tell people all the time with the BAO, we don't charge nothing for the BAO, just free information. You can join, anything like that, because I want to take that off the table. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. Everything. I just want you to listen. Hear us out and everything. So we take that off the table. We take that okay, that relaxes people. Okay, yeah, you relax them and everything. Then you reel them in, and then after a while, I know I got them. You know what I'm saying? Once they believe in what we're saying, we got them. Okay. Before you basically talk about politics, you have to have an interest. What is your interest? What is your individual? What do you believe in? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for your community? What you have to have an interest. We have never defined what exactly we want. Now, if Black people start turning towards Pan-Africanism, right? Let me give you an example. You have the diaspora, right? You have Search for Who. You have a boy Mark Twain. People are making major moves across the Atlantic and doing good things. John Cashin in Nigeria. What if trade and building with Africa became our enthusiasm? That became our main thing. That's what we want, right?
No, we gotta build right here, because here we go. Here's my favorite phrase now. I've been hearing my collar. We got to fight back. We got to fight back here in America. And I'm like, how does fighting back look like? I've never got an answer.
Yeah, well, yeah. Fighting back is just basically huffing and puffing, saying you're gonna rise up and pump your fist up and whatnot, and take all the wind out. And then, like a couple of days later, you come down off that high. You're like, yeah, and you're so beaten down. You know what I'm saying? Stop wasting all your energy on emotions. You know, have a plan. You know, one thing. What you know what separates an advanced civilized people from a mediocre? Like all cultures are not equal. Some cultures are intelligent. They can build great things. They have continuity. They can build things. You know. Unfortunately, black culture in America is not one of those. Why? Because in order for you to build anything, right, you have to have what? You have to have delayed gratification. That means you saying, well, I'm gonna work hard right here, right? I'm gonna save my money, right? I'm gonna build this, and then I'm gonna build a business right here. I may not like that, but by the time my son grows up, he's gonna take it over and take it to the next level. That's what's called. It's like cultivation. You don't just plant seeds, right, and expect them to sprout tomorrow. It takes cultivation. You got to water it, as sunlight. You got to get fertilizer. You have to cultivate it. Same thing with relationships. Same thing with business. Same thing with politics. Same thing with marriage. Everything. You have to build it. We don't want to do that as a people. We want it overnight. We want it instantaneously. We want somebody to give us something fast. It's quick, fast, in a hurry. It's not drugs you pump into your arm and give you a quick high. You have to sit back and rationalize and strategize, right? And come on the same page and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we can do. And then also, you have to, in addition to delayed gratification, you have to know how to manage expectations. You know how many organizations fail because their expectations were too high, you know, and they mislead people, and people get disappointed. Just and then, Carl, look, you have to manage expectations. No, I don't think we're at that point left. We can set a benchmark. This is realistic what we can do. This is realistic what we can't do. That's why you have to manage expectations. We don't want to do that. We don't want to discipline ourselves to manage expectations on small scale stuff and big scale stuff, right? But what if we were basically were talking more about trade and getting behind people like the brother Fitzgerald and everything? I was really impressed when he said he works in several African countries and everything like that. There's many people like Fitzgerald. There's many people that are doing things and everything, but we don't get behind them. Why? Because we don't want to see. A lot of us don't want to see our fellow black people succeed. Why? Because if they succeed, then that takes away your pity party, your self pity, and all this kind of stuff like that that we as black people are known to stuck on. You know, we gotta
Yeah,
learn how
and
to.
another thing too, the reason why is because we're not really necessarily entertainers, man. It's like you gotta be an ex-felon or used to sell dope
Yeah, use
or be
sell dope. Yeah,
for people to really, really, really get behind you, our people.
yeah, you gotta get out there like a Killer Mike. Yeah, see if you could go out there and hustle some dope, then invest it in this. No, it don't work like that. You know, it don't. I mean, it can work like that, but is that the message you want to send people? You know, you gotta go do wrong, you know, and save your nickels and dimes and then invest in everything like that. What does that tell the youth people? It tells you can risk racking up felonies on your record and going to jail and whatnot just because you couldn't take 3 years, work 3 jobs. Like I know many people that I've done before, you know, work a whole year, second job, put money in the bank to put down on the business and everything. So you don't have to worry about somebody knocking on the door and saying, okay, it's time, well, you have the right to remain silent and everything. We don't want to do those sort of things, you know. Like the Jamaicans started the Sousa's when they came to America, little lotteries. Other people can have little lotteries where they come here, where they put into a pile, right? If somebody needs open a business, they can support them, you know. And then when they do have a business and everything like that, they make sure people in their community come around and support that business and everything. And
Real,
do it.
real, real quick, caller. Guys, hit that like button, and everyone who's super chatted, thank you so much for the super chat, and also make sure you guys get Collar's book as well.
Journey to the promised land.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
go ahead.
so
Go ahead,
this is what we're talking. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Now, Donald Trump, somebody who lived in New York, right? Lived in New York. Probably as a white man, he probably said, you know, a lot of white people backhandedly, forehandedly say, you know, if I was black, right, and I have all these people out here, you know, Donald Trump knows that when he makes $1 billion, right, he has people under him, contractors, vendors, suppliers, that's going to make money too. They're part of his network, the Trump group. You know what I'm saying? Where can you tell me, Dynas, do we have the equivalent of a Donald Trump group? Or we have Michael Jordan, we have Jay-Z, but do we have like businesses and suppliers that supply these people that are a part of a black network and everything? Have you seen it?
I'm sure it's out there.
Or where? Do we have it? Do we have that as a model? Say, okay,
As a model, no.
no, we don't have that as a model. Do we have any consortiums, any black business consortium that could come to Atlanta and put out bids for contracts and stuff like that, and even have closed bid contracts with for black people?
Well, I know at the airport they do. I know.
For the airport, and I want to put you here and there. But is it nepotism? You got to be in there. You got to be in the inner circle.
Well, it does have a lot to do with who you know. Obviously, that's why they're in that whole corruption scandal going on right now. So,
right. And so, like I said, that's what we have in Black America, right? Even though we don't benefit from the black people that's up there on top making money, we still feel proud that when we see them up on television getting awards and everything, like all this talk that we're saying right now will be nothing when Elijah Cummings get that. I guarantee I'll put money on he'll get an NAACP Image Award. You know?
It's just because they feel sorry for him because of what Trump said.
No, because they'll be like, okay, it's election time. Somebody will say, you know something, we got to get Elijah coming out of this, right? The Image Awards is coming up, right? Mark it right here. Kyle said this July 31st, 2019. Elijah Cummings will get a Lifetime Achievement Award. You know what I'm saying? From the NAACP Image
Lifetime Achievement Award. God.
Yeah. God. But that you understand something. You have to understand. If we ever thought that they were just going to let us have access to their political system, right? We were sadly mistaken. If you thought they were going to let us have independent economics and everything like that, where we could finance and build ourselves and everything without their approval and everything, you were sadly mistaken. And so what? Politics is politics. Trump's supposed to meet with Elijah Cummings. Nothing ever came out of it. Why? Because Elijah Cummings feels he don't have to. Why? Because if you basically give something to, let's say there was an enterprise zone and it became successful, right? You have black entrepreneurs and everything, jobs, everything like that, right? Then they can't use him in the general election. They can't. He can go back and say, "Look what we did." So it's better to say, "No, nothing came out of that," so they can say that when election time comes, like Donald Trump never did anything for you. Go out and vote.
Hey, Colin, see, the NAACP is the same organization that gave Donald Sterling award, an Image Award or whatever. Donald Sterling is?
Who Image Award?
Donald Sterling. The NAACP gave Donald Sterling.
Yeah. Like I said, the whole thing is everyone could be bought. The NAACP, I would love to know who's on their board and everything, and why do we take these things so seriously? Because like I said, why was the Image Award created in 1968? Why? Because the image of Black America was so bad. The image of Black America was so bad, and the whole thing is, it's all about an image. These people do not care about what's actually going on in Black America. It's the whole thing is it's about an image. If you got a good image, you got a nice house, everything. That's what we want to show. Oh, Black Image Award, everything. It's not about okay, let's create a thing where we have an infinite abundance of opportunity where everybody got a fair shot and everything. It's all about let's take the people that's making it and say, oh, this is our image and everything like that. Why? Because it's not for us, it's for white people. We have to be selling ourselves to white people all the time. And no matter what we do, no matter how many Image Awards we put out there and everything, white people look at the 6 o'clock news. White people look at the 6 o'clock news and say, look, I know I just saw Image Awards. I saw all these kids that had valedictorian and everything like that. That goes out the window when they see Ray, and Jamal, just knocked over the 7-Eleven. They're like, oh, and all that goes right out the door. So why don't we fix the problem that produces the Rays and the Jamal out in the community and everything? Give them something to do. Give them an opportunity. Let them be part of something. We haven't done that. Why? Because there's nothing in Black America that they could buy into. I learned a lot over the last 10 years. I really thought there was this. I thought the NAACP I thought the end of see, it started with I questioned. Remember Tavis Smiley, the state of the Black Union, you know? And I did a radio show called my review of the state of the Black Union. That was back in 2009. That was his last one after when Obama got elected. Right? He was so mad, right? Because Hillary promised him a correspondence job, whatever, at the White House. He was so mad. Black people didn't that Hillary didn't get the nomination, right? And he wanted Obama to lose, you know.
Mhm.
So when that didn't happen, and he wrote a book called Accountability, you know. Now the whole time, right, when he was interviewing the Clintons, he never wrote a book called Accountability with the Clintons. You know what I'm saying? He was friends with the Clintons for years. He never wrote a book that said, you know, Hillary, your husband was president and everything. He never gave anything Black America. So I'm writing this book for you, Accountability. He waited till Barack Obama gets elected, and he wrote a book called Accountability.
Mhm.
You know, and so it goes to show you, right? Who is and I did a show called "What Exactly Is a Black Leader?" You know, what is a black leader? It didn't dawn on me, right? You know, how can you be a leader and are you a black leader or are you leading blacks? And the only thing you could do is lead black people to the polls every 4 years, you know, or talk about problems that we already know what happens. You know, where's our leader? Where's our people that's building businesses? Where's our people that's building education? Where's our people that's building logistics? Where are the people that's connecting us with Africa? You know, and where's our people that's sitting down with
Okay,
Paul?
speaking of that, Carl, you know Nancy Pelosi and the caucus,
Oh yeah, yeah, I saw that.
congressional black caucus, or the whatever they call. Yeah, they're in Ghana right now.
Yeah, yeah, they go to Ghana because they know what it is. Is the problem is there's a lot of black people from America who are going to Africa and stuff like that, and going to places like Ghana and stuff like that. And so they want to look like they want to get that street, their Pan African street cred up, you know. So they want to go to Ghana and everything like that. But when the Ghanaian, and so like Ghana would love to have white Americans and those liberal leftists come there and visit and everything because they spend money too. They're not really interested in so-called black. If they can come to Black America, if Black Americans come to Ghana, don't expect any Pan Africanism and stuff like that, because what's coming first is they're trying to get in good with the Pelosi's and this AOCs and all these other people and everything. You know, they got to look out for their interests. So what is our interest in Ghana if you know like that? And so I don't know how that's going to play out because these people are for the LGBT. I don't think Ghana's really into all that stuff like that. So I don't know what's going to come out there, but it's interesting. But you know, like I said, it's an interesting time right now because as nobody can say what Black America is going to vote this election. You know, I think a lot of Black people are starting to feel like they got a little bit of power. You know, this is the first time in our history where a presidential candidate even mentioned Black America. I mean, listen, should I say that again?
Say it again.
Barack Obama completely ignored Black people. He
Of
never
course.
said, I did this for Black people. He never said, and people say, well, Trump can say that because he's white. Yeah, okay, right. But no liberal can say that. Why? Because there's always a suspicion that the Liberal Party is out for is for Black people and trying to take from white people and give them all white people. This when they talk about healthcare for all and everything, we're gonna take your healthcare plans. That's taking white people. When they say bring illegals across the border and everything like that, and also like that, white people feel like they're being under assault and everything. So they don't really fundamentally white people in America. The white people that get ridden with guilt are going to stick with Democrats just to prove that they're not racist. Then there's white people who feel they're not racist. They don't really care. They still want this to be a white majority country, right? They know
Right.
Trump is their best bet for that, right? They don't care. See, they're not really threatened by African Americans. If you basically see the way Trump frames it, we're the Americans, right? And we have our African American friends. You know what I'm saying? That gives white people saying yes.
Hey, Carla, hold on, Carla. I remember this shit too. So the water's still poisoned in Flint, Michigan. Remember when Obama went to Flint and got his glass and said, "I had nothing wrong." I know he would have spit that shit out too.
Yeah.
That's the only time he did stuff for black people. He went to Flint,
Yeah,
Michigan.
yeah. Okay, but Trump is like our black friends. You know what I'm saying? Look how our unemployment. The first time in history where if you said black unemployment was up, they didn't call the white people to riot, It used to be a time. There used to be a saying, right? It used to be a saying. Listen to this, bro. I'm gonna give you a little bit of history here. There used to be a saying in America says, "No jobs for niggers until every last single white man, including the bum, has a job."
Mm-hmm.
And black people accepted that, and that's what caused a riot in Detroit at one time. Black people held down Detroit for a generation, right? And then white people started coming up there saying, okay, we got these factories built. Black people built Detroit. The black labor built Detroit. People don't know that history. We built the steel mills. Our labor built the thing. Henry Ford went to the South and got black labor because he knew white labor couldn't do the hard work it needed for the initial building of the Ford plants. Black labor built Detroit. Then after things were going, there was a black middle class. You had black foremen and everything in the 1930s and everything, 40s and everything. Suddenly, white folks who failed on their farms in the Midwest and everything, who failed, there was no crop dust. They just failed, right? They start flooding into places like Chicago and saying, let's now take from the black first. That's how the 8 Mile Road area. And then there was riots and everything like that. And one riot was so bad, it was the first time in history where more white people died in a riot than black people. And so Detroit has always been one of the most racist cities in the country, right? Why? Because you have this white people saying, I don't care how much black people contribute. I don't care how we need you and everything. You are still, this is still a white city, and that's what the problem has always been in Detroit. Now, New York is a little different. Black people in New York had large enclaves from top to bottom. We had enclaves in New York where you have rich black people, right? Millionaires, right? Living in the same general vicinity as poor black people. And so there was like a black world. You see black people all different times. You have middle class, working class men. You have educated, everything, all living in the same space. That's what's unique about New York than any other city that I know about. Every other city where black people who have money are separated from the majority. In New York, black people always tend to be with each other. Whatever the income level is, everything. So that's what you have. So Black America is complicated right now. I think these black leaders, right? You have to be
because what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Like, what's the future hold? I think you're getting into that.
Okay. Nobody want to call in tonight? I guess we ain't doing that tonight. Okay.
No, I got guests over, man. So.
Okay. No problem. Okay. The future is this. The future is, I think, either black people are gonna stand up and do something. This is the moment of truth, right? It's obvious that the Congressional Black Caucus and all these other people don't represent you. What they're fighting for is not you, right? They want to push you off as, oh, we're just Americans right now. We got to focus on the new oppressed group, the LGBTQ and the illegal aliens and all these other people, right? While at the same time, black people are being marginalized more than ever before. Media people, those tears aren't for you, right? Those tears are for those illegals that are at the border. They don't care about you. They don't care about. I saw an article the other day where a young boy was sitting on a porch with his father, 10 years old, killed by a stray bullet. They don't care about this. They don't care about the guns that's in the black areas and everything. They don't care the fact that you have urban blight and there's no jobs, no hope or anything like that. They don't care about any of that. Why? Because they know that and then on that they only have a small black voter turnout. They're gonna win regardless. Why? Because there's no competition, right? The Democratic Party is gonna put them always in power, right? Nominate them. All they have to do is play along with everything the Democrats. This is what it is. They're not gonna do anything for you because the Democrats already told them what to vote on, what to campaign on, what to do like that. So the bottom line, even in this district, it ain't like a overwhelming majority of people showing up voting for Elijah Cummings. There could be a 10% voter turnout and he'll win because the Republicans don't even bother campaigning in these districts. There's only a two-party system. It's a winner take all. Elijah Cummings not going in. Why? Because he does not have any competition. Same thing with Maxine Waters. Same thing with John Conyers. Everything. They live in these Democratic districts, and they're put there by the Democratic Party to do their bidding, and that's why these communities are dying. This is what I wanted to say before. Newt Gingrich. I remember when Newt Gingrich had his district in Georgia. I think Georgia was outside of Atlanta. Newt Gingrich's district in Georgia at the time. I can't remember.
I don't know. Maybe Cobb.
Anyway,
Maybe Cobb. I don't know.
Yeah, check this out. Well, anyway, I was watching this one article years ago, right? And they were saying now these congressmen lobby to get like what's the big company that makes Packard, Lockheed Martin and
Yeah,
all these
Lucky Martin's out here.
yeah. Well, that's Newt Gingrich that got that there. They build a factory. When they gonna build a helicopter, it's them that bring home the bacon to their districts. You know what I'm saying? Say, okay, we want this factory right here. Why? Because when they bring these big contracts there, they keep the middle class growing. That's what these congressmen is there for. Even more to the senator. The congressman is supposed to make sure to do the Ways and Means Committee and their influence and everything to make sure that they bring home what they call pork barrel politics. They bring home businesses to their districts, government contracts and everything like that. And they compete and they fight over these things and everything. And everybody gets a piece. Is there any congressman that's bringing home major government contracts to black districts, majority districts? No. Because the majority of black districts are poor, uneducated districts because the black middle class has moved out. So that's what you have. That's what you have in America. That's the future. That's the future. There's no future. That's why this is right for a nationalist movement. The time is right for a nationalist movement. And that's why they want to stop this movement right now. Why? Because as we start looking at doing business overseas and stuff like that, they'll get the notion, right? But the thing is, when black people start turning towards anybody that's going to help us achieve our national goal, whether Republican or what, I'm open to talking to anybody that will help us establish economic, diplomatic, political, social, and cultural ties with major African countries and everything with Black America. I'm open for anybody. Anybody that wants to talk like that is welcome at my table. But the whole thing is, if the Democrats don't want to talk about that, they don't have my support. But there's too many black people. You ask them, well, what are the Democrats going to do for you? What are they going to do for you? I don't know. But Trump's a racist. Trump's racist. Trump's racist. Trump's racist. The term racist have lost its potency. It's lost its potency. It's been used so much that doesn't mean anything anymore. It's about who can bring home the bacon. What do you want? I already explained what I want. I'm trying to build sister city projects to connect growing African economies with black communities over here. That we can do STEM training, we can do trade and investment, cryptocurrency, whatever we can, and everything. Also promote travel, trade, business connections. So we have a new reality. We have infinite. We have control over our reality. And we have what we need. That's what I'm for. Now, if people don't want that, hey, that's fine. But that's what I want, And the ultimate goal of the BAL, the nation state of our own on the African continent, eventually, that's what we want. Now, if you for that, you like that, then come join us on the BAO social network site. I just put the link in the chat room, So we want to do everything. It's a home for nationalists and Pan-Africanists. That's all it is. A place to share ideas and fellowship with other Pan-Africanists and nationalists who want to do business, trade, culture exchange, and all stuff like that between here and the diaspora and through the African continent. We have a lot of people on the African continent that's with us and everything. They're just waiting for us to put together socialization, building friendship bonds, getting to know each other and everything. Making friends and partners and everything. That's what we do with the BAIO. So, thanks. You put this link in the chat room.
Yeah, well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, Search for Uhuru. Peace.
Peace, guys.
Peace.